Hey guys, I am just a couple minutes early for our 11 o'clock live fest here on YouTube and Facebook. We are talking about the real estate market, answering all the questions that we've had over the last week. And if you have any questions that you haven't had a chance to send me, feel free to just type it in the chat or make a comment on Facebook, and I am sure to get those answered for you. I see we've got a few people watching, so super cool. Hello, Happy New Year. Today, basically, we are talking about our real estate market, and we are talking about kind of our projections for where we expect it to go for 2023, as well as where we see rates today. So everybody always asks about rates lately. It's like the big thing in the news. Everybody wants to know about rates. So fun fact, if you go to Mortgage News Daily, it's a website, Mortgage News Daily, you can see the daily rate. And it's kind of an average. So depending on, of course, your income, credit score, your application with your lender, those can change. But I like to use that as a real good benchmark for knowing, are the rates up or down, or just kind of a rough generalization of where they are. So today's rates from Mortgage News Daily, a 30-year conventional loan is 6.5%. That really isn't too bad. I'm kind of excited to see that it's kind of holding for the first week of the year, about 6.5. The high point for last year, right? I think it was like in October, November-ish, got up to 7.37. So 6.5 is a big step back in a good and comfortable direction for a lot of home buyers in our Phoenix market. If you're looking at a 15-year, today it was 5.84%. If you're looking at a jumbo, we've been telling people all along, if you're hovering right along that jumbo mark, put less down, get into the jumbo, because the rate is so much better, and then recast that loan later. And so we can talk about what that means. But a jumbo rate is 5.7% today. So here they just raised the conventional loan limit to about $750,000. So a jumbo loan limit is anything above $750,000 that you're financing. You get a better rate actually by almost a full point. So it's at 5.7 compared to a 6.5 today. FHA and VA are really, really close. FHA is 6.12, VA is 6.19, and then a 5-year ARM is at 6.2. So, big picture wise, rates really aren't that bad. And with all of the tactics that we've used in the last few months to get sellers to actually contribute a ton of money, and we're talking like $10,000 to $15,000, $20,000 to be able to buy your rate down for you, that's huge. You can get it a whole percent or so off. So if you're looking at like a conventional loan, say it's 6.5, you get $20,000 contributed from the seller, you get that down to 5.5. That's really pretty dang good. You're going to be way, way, way ahead in the big picture in the long-term average of rates. I don't know that we'll actually see them back down close to the 4s again, maybe in our lifetime. I don't know. So when we're talking about recasting, I know we touched on that briefly, but if you're trying to get, let's say this jumbo example, right? Say you're trying to get into jumbo to get that lower rate, and you don't put that much down so that you are guaranteed that $750,000 loan amount so that you qualify for that jumbo loan. If you make that payment for 6 months, it's going to be a higher payment because your loan amount is higher. But say you had like $300,000 or $400,000 to put down, you only put down $100,000, qualify as a jumbo, get that better rate, and then after 6 months, you go and put the rest of that $300,000 down. Then you can actually get your lender to recast that loan. And what that means is that you can now take that new principal balance, $300,000 less. So say that's a $450,000 loan now, and amortize that $450,000 over the 30 years instead of the $750,000. So it'll hugely drop your payment. So if you can afford to do that for 6 months, that's a really cool tip and trick there. Also, we've been making a bunch of YouTube shorts. We posted them on Facebook and Instagram too, with a bunch of mortgage hacks to actually save you a ton of money on interest rates. So if you're curious about how to do that, go back and watch those videos. Happy to answer any questions that you guys have or talk specific scenarios too. We've talked or gotten a bunch of questions on what is the market doing? Are we going to crash? So we just put out a video about that too, actually, Wednesday. So you're welcome to go back and watch that. I've got some cool charts that I shared in that video, but really what we're watching are the demand index and the supply index. And so our supply index is actually the number of active homes that we have available. Remember, we got like up about 21,000 homes. We're down about 16,000 right now. So we've had a whole bunch of sellers pull out of the market, which is really, really good news for keeping our market stable. We also have a bunch of buyers that now that rate, like I said, was 7.37, it's back to 6.5. I've had a bunch of buyers decide maybe this is the time to jump in because there's not as much competition. They don't have to pay over list price. They don't have to give away all their rights to get a house. So this is really, really exciting to be a buyer because of all of that. You get all of the free options to choose. Sellers are willing to pay a whole bunch of stuff for you. You can like come out with not a whole bunch of cash out of your pocket to buy a house. This is great. So with all of that being said, our market actually dipped into a little bit of a buyer's market the end of November, right around Thanksgiving. And then it lasted for a few weeks. And about mid-December, we started kicking back up. So we're actually back in balance. Today we're at 100 and I think we're at 101 was the index, 101.5. So what that means is that we are back into a balanced market. Anything over 110, if this trend continues, we've gone up from about 87 to 101 in 3 weeks. So that's really, really good news. But if this trend continues, we're going to be back into a weak seller's market where Phoenix traditionally stays. So if we hit that right as our spring selling season continues, that's when most buyers come out. That's when most listings come on. It's going to be right about March, April, May, June. That's our spring selling season. So this is going to be really, really interesting to watch where these rates play. And as long as they don't spike back up to 7.5 again, we should be coasting and heading really, really consistently into the summer. So very, very exciting things that we're watching on the real estate front. So if you have questions about that, of course, each city is different. So cities like Queen Creek, Buckeye, Maricopa, Casa Grande, those are actually, maybe not Casa Grande, but Maricopa, those are actually still buyer's market. Santan Valley, those are still a buyer's market. They're heading the right direction back towards sellers, but they're still in a buyer's market. And then cities like Scottsdale, Cave Creek, Fountain Hills, Paradise Valley are sellers markets already. So some of that stuff, if you have questions about your specific neighborhood, your specific city, let's talk. I'm happy to share those stats with you. What else can I answer? Anybody else have questions? It's really exciting right now. Good time to be buying properties. What else can I share? The West Coast seems to be hit if you look at the Case-Shiller Index. So like Seattle, San Francisco, those like kind of expensive West Coast cities seem to be getting hit a little bit harder by this recession on home prices than some other parts of the country. So that's kind of interesting. Like Detroit, Chicago, I think are at the top of the list and hit the lightest. But I'll double check on that one. So if you're thinking about investing across the country or have property across the country, there's, Phoenix has kind of always been its own little monster as far as that stuff goes. So if you have questions on any of that stuff, I'm happy to share what I know there and share resources. We should have a whole bunch more of those stats come like mid-February as far as the national picture goes. What else? What else do we have here? What else can I talk about? Anybody have questions? We've talked opportunity cost a little bit, where a year ago we didn't have to put $50,000 down on $50,000 above a purchase price. So you had to bid over that and compete. You don't have to do that. So that $50,000 can go a long way into either buying your own rate down or getting a seller contribution to be able to buy that down on your behalf. So that's kind of how our market has shifted and how people are still getting really good deals. There are quite a few properties that are getting more attention by offering seller financing right now, which means that the owner, so say I own my house and I'm trying to sell it, I will then turn into the bank for the new buyer. So I will accept your down payment, and then you will make monthly payments to me just like you would a bank for a set number of years. And so we've seen a lot of success actually getting buyers under contract with sellers who are willing to carry that note for them at really good interest rates. So one of them that we just got was at 5%. And like I said, our average for conventional loans is 6.5%. That's not an investor note rate either. So investor rates do tend to be a little bit higher than the standard conventional rate. And so this investor, we found him in the perfect place, and we got it at 5%. So there's some of that that's happening in our market right now, and that's another way that you can kind of beat the system. If you own a property and you are kind of bummed that you missed the peak selling season when people were throwing money at you, this is a way that you can get extra money over and above your list price as well, because they're paying you that interest on your price. So you end up making quite a bit more on your property by doing a seller carry. So if that's something you want some information on, I'm happy to share that as well. Those properties are getting a lot more attention right now than just a standard that isn't willing to do that. So kind of a fun fact and a trend we're watching to see how many of those deals actually get closed, and how that trend kind of plays out. So fun fact, super interesting stuff going on. We'll be on again. We're going to kick this up and try to do it every week now on Fridays at 11 a.m. and that's Arizona time. So we bounce back and forth between Mountain Standard and Pacific Standard. Right now, you all fall back. We're Mountain Standard time zone. So if you're outside of Arizona, that's what time it kicks off. So if you have questions, feel free to shoot them in a text or in an email. My email is in the comments or the video notes, and I'll put it on Facebook too. So let me know, you guys, and have a great start to your new year, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.